Okay, now we're live. Good to see you. And there we go. So today we're going to look at a wonderful sutta. And just excuse me if I have to get up suddenly because I've been having some kind of a flu bug or something. And I'm not entirely out of the woods. I'm much better, but uh, anyway. So anyway, this sutta uh, is called The Arrow. It's in the um, Connected Discourses, Connected Discourses on Feeling or Vedana. And this is referred to frequently. You might hear of the second arrow. Some people may be familiar with that. And we're familiar with that in our daily lives as well as the teaching.
Right.
And so this also relates to the underlying tendencies. So, and then I have a couple of I have extracts along with it. So we can just start. I'm going to see if I can share the sutta. This is not the one. Okay. There. This one. So here's the sutta, the arrow. So, would you mind reading? I
Sure.
just read it kind of paragraph at a time.
Mendicants, an unlearned, ordinary person feels pleasant, painful, and neutral feelings. A learned noble disciple also feels pleasant, painful, and neutral feelings. What then is the difference between a learned noble disciple and an ordinary, unlearned person?
Okay, we stop there. So most of us know that Vedana is a feeling tone, the feeling tone of pleasant, painful, or neutral. So he's just going over that. It's not emotion, but a physical or mental.
Our teachings are rooted in the Buddha. When an unlearned ordinary person experiences, they which would be, would the Buddha is so great, would you elucidate? And now the Buddha's talking. When an unlearned ordinary person experiences painful physical feelings, they sorrow and wail and lament, beating their breast and falling into confusion. They experience two feelings, physical and mental.
So this is pretty extreme, but this is the resisting or we are physically we experience a painful feeling more painfully when we resist it. There's physical tension and mental anxiety. So this is Buddha. The Buddha often talks about extremes, but I think in the time of the Buddha, that's people's response sometimes, mental and physically, something painful going on in their lives, they would wail and lament. Okay, would you
Sure.
continue, please?
It's like a person who is struck with an arrow, only to be struck with a second arrow. that person experiences the feeling of two arrows. In the same way, when an unlearned, ordinary person experiences painful physical feelings, they sorrow and wail and lament, beating their breast and falling into confusion. They experience two feelings, physical and mental. When they're touched by painful feelings, they resist it. The underlying tendency for repulsion towards painful feelings underlies that. When touched by painful feeling, they look forward to enjoying sensual pleasures. Why is that? Should I stop there? That
Yeah,
was
you
a little
could,
too far.
yeah,
Keep going.
you could stop there. That's probably good.
Yeah.
So, so here they are resisting the painful feeling and the underlying tendency for repulsion. This is patiga. Patiga. Patiga Anusayā, underlying tendency to aversion, inherent inclination to resistance.
Mm.
So resistance is a one way I heard this patiga talk to pushing away or wanting to stop it, wanting to so then not only are they resisting it, they're look forward to enjoying sensual pleasures. This is what this says here.
When such and such happens, then everything will be fine.
It could be like that. Yeah. So, distracting ourselves. So I remember just being sick. I just wanted it to stop and I wanted to be well again. So I was looking forward to the experience of being well. It's a stomach bug, so it was actually physically painful. And so it doesn't mean that we shouldn't take care of ourselves, but that whole syndrome of resisting it and not wanting it and making it worse for ourselves. Why me? Why is this happening? Something like that. And to be well again. But sometimes people do actually seek to distract themselves from pain. They'll seek some pleasurable experience.
Because an unlearned, ordinary person doesn't understand any escape from painful feeling apart from sensual pleasures. Since they look forward to enjoying sensual pleasures, the underlying tendency to greed for pleasant feelings underlies that.
Okay, let's stop there. So you see, this is enjoyment, the kama sukha, comfort of sense pleasures, enjoyment of sensual desire. And then the raga Anusayā is the underlying tendency to desire or lust. Bhikkhu Bodhi translates it as lust. Lusting. And lusting is kind of strong. It's like lusting after some chocolate cake or something. uh, and okay, so
They don't
done.
they don't truly understand feelings' origin, ending, gratification, drawback, and escape.
So this here, this origin, ending, gratification, and escape appears in a number of different suttas. So it's important to key into this. So Vedana's origin, where is Vedana come from? How does it appear? And then how does it end? Sometimes this is called the arising and the passing. You'll see here the rising, the passing. Asada is gratification. So all these things we're supposed to understand. Adinawa, danger. Sometimes it's arising, the passing, the gratification, the danger, and the escape. That's how Bhikkhu Bodhi translates it. And this is the escape, exodus, way out. Okay, that's what's going on. Let this one slip down or something. How do I get it? Okay, there it goes.
That's good.
Okay. So, Utabutam. This is as it really is. In reality, the nature, such nature, as it truly is in reality. And they don't understand. This is not pajanati. They don't know. They don't clearly understand. So this section right here is something to highlight. And then it gets interesting.
The underlying tendency to ignorance about neutral feeling underlies that. If they feel a pleasant feeling, they feel it attached. If they feel a painful feeling, they feel it attached. If they feel a neutral feeling, they feel it attached. They're called an unlearned ordinary person who is attached to rebirth, old age, and death, to sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and distress, who is attached to suffering, I say.
So
That's just laying it right out there.
that's just laying it right out there. So we'll get back to the gratification, danger, and escape, because I have a Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, just the extracts from it. And we'll look at it again to discuss that. We're going to go through Bhante Sujato's.
Should I keep reading then?
Yeah, please.
When a learned noble disciple experiences painful physical feelings, they don't sorrow or wail or lament, beating their breast and falling into confusion. They experience one feeling, physical, not mental. It's like a person who's struck with an arrow, but not struck with a second arrow. That person would experience the feeling of one arrow. In the same way, when a learned noble disciple experiences painful physical feelings, they don't sorrow or wail or lament, beating their breasts and falling into confusion. They experience one feeling, physical, not mental. One more sentence.
Yeah, I think this is the Arahant. And I think for what we need to do is see the tendencies arising, being really aware and really aware of that impulse to, like, I was aware, especially when I was thinking, oh, when will this stop? When will I feel better? Then I just thought, oh, this is part of the having a human body, and we have sickness, and I better take care of myself. But this whole, it just it comes up. You see it come up, and you just go, oh, and there's that tendency. So we're not going to eradicate the underlying tendencies until arahantship completely.
I think,
but they're weakened. They're very much weakened as we work the path. Yeah, I think the actual greed for sense pleasures is eradicated at non-returner, and the aversion isn't completely eradicated into arhantship. So, but they're weakened, they're greatly weakened. So this is kind of our task is for liberation, to bring awareness. The more we bring awareness to this whole process.
yeah, that's the awareness part for me was, so the being sick I had a different personality types, different conditioning. So my conditioning was more to like go into mental, kind of a depressive state around, the sickness. And so kind of more a dull, ignorant based state. And yet there was a part of me that I mean, I wasn't thinking particularly of the sutta, but just that notion of, okay, is this gastrointestinal thing really depressive? Or am I overlaying something here? Is there something? Of course, the system's depleted. But am I going in and like stirring up depleted, and dwelling in that part of the energy? Because that's my disposition
But you
for it.
probably were going into bed and just
Well,
seeking comfort into to resting and
right.
yeah, so which isn't a terrible thing to do when you're
Absolutely. So, but it's more about,
yeah,
I mean, the Buddha went and laid down.
right. Yeah, yeah,
So there's a sense of, is my mind following the physical? And I could see that. I could really clearly see, oh, this depressive quality of the mind is me stirring myself into the physical malaise. And quite interesting to explore that. So I think what I was saying is spot on for me too, that the awareness is what grows, and that lessens the with the second arrow
right. Yeah.
to be graphic.
Yeah, yeah. Second here. We torment ourselves. There's another sutra says that we torment ourselves with the second arrow. So where are we now?
I think when touched by painful feelings, they don't look forward to enjoying. Oops, I think when we're back. There's no underlying tendency for repulsion toward painful feelings underlying that. They don't resist it. I missed a bit. When touched by painful feelings, they don't look forward to enjoying sensual pleasures. Why is that?
Wait
Because
a minute. I'm trying to find it so
oh,
here so they can see it.
I think let's go back to the experience when not mental, and I'll start again there.
Okay.
Uh,
Start there. Okay.
when they're touched by painful feeling, they don't resist it. There's no underlying tendency for repulsion towards painful feeling underlying that. When touched by painful feeling, they don't look forward to enjoying sensual pleasures. Why is that? Because a learned noble disciple understands an escape from painful feeling apart from sensual pleasures. Since they don't look forward to enjoying sensual pleasures, there's no underlying tendency to greed for pleasant feeling underlying that. They truly understand feelings, origin, ending, gratification, drawback, and escape. And there's no underlying tendency to ignorance about neutral feelings underlying that. Let's keep going.
Keep going. Yeah.
If they feel a pleasant feeling, they feel it detached. If they feel a painful feeling, they feel it detached. If they feel a neutral feeling, they feel it detached.
Okay, we can stop there for a moment. Yeah, so this shows that the Arahant, he's talking about an Arahant, uh, does still feel painful, pleasant, and neutral feelings. They're not, and they feel it detached, but like Aya was saying, the Buddha had back problems and he would lie down and he would ask another one of his disciples to carry on teaching. He'd be in front of an assembly teaching, and then he'd say, Mahamoggallana, would you please continue with the teaching? My back is hurting. And he'd fold his Sangati in four, and he would lay down on his Sangati. And then Mahamoggallana would teach. So he was taking care of himself. He was doing what he needed to care for himself. Um, and there's another sutta, the Buddha had a rock splinter in his foot. This is when Devadatta was trying to kill the Lord Buddha, and he had a splinter in his foot, and it was so painful, and I guess they removed the splinter, but the foot was so painful, he was laying down, and it said that Mara came and started taunting him. Are you dozing in the middle of the day? And then the Buddha's response, I lay down with compassionate heart for the world. So he was laying there extending compassion to all beings. He was experiencing physical pain, but he was having karuna uh, for the world. So yeah, so there's the feeling of it, and there's a caring for it, but there's the not the diluted way of dealing with it. So then we're getting down to this part here. They're called, oops.
Yeah, oops, me too. They're called a learned, noble disciple who is detached from rebirth, old age, and death, from sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and distress, who is detached from suffering, I say. This is the difference between a learned, noble disciple and an unlearned, ordinary person. Should I do the verses?
So again, just briefly, this is showing kind of like two extremes. Hopefully we're somewhere in between this, where we're on the path working. So don't despair.
Just keep doing it.
Okay, go ahead.
A wise and learned person isn't affected by feelings of pleasure and pain. This is the great difference in skill between the wise and the ordinary. A learned person who has appraised the teaching discerns this world and the next. Desirable things don't disturb their mind, nor are they repelled by the undesirable. Both favoring and opposing are cleared and ended. They are no more. Knowing the stainless, sorrowless state, they who have gone beyond rebirth understand rightly.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So I'm going to stop the screen share. Bonk.
Oh,
And I don't have the
other.
document. Okay. I'll have it open so it's ready. So are there any questions at this point or comments before we carry on with the document?
Cat.
No questions. I'm always happy to read this one because this is one of my conditionings as well. Like I fall prey to the second arrow every time. So, um, and I just hope that every time I'm getting a little quicker at catching it. So,
That's the trick, is just
yeah,
soon as you can,
yeah,
or and I'm going to show with another sutta I have here
nice.
this whole process. And Kema.
Good morning, Idas, everybody, and thank you for this sutta study and your wisdom. I wanted to ask you what may be the way to see rebirth, and I s- I wonder, I think it is every moment there's a rebirth of self, every second, every whatever nano uh, in the quantum field, it's like happening so quickly where there's this rebirth of the identity. The self is constantly supporting this self, which could be seen as rebirth. But I think initially I thought of rebirth as, a baby being born. And maybe it's not important to know. I mean, rebirth as far as being born physically is maybe a bigger issue, topic, is it really important to know if there's reincarnation, that word? Anyway, I guess maybe for this purposes, I'm thinking it might be best to think of it in the moment of this constant creation of self, maybe more instead of a bigger thing. How do
What
you
if
see this?
you let me answer that question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so in the Abhidhamma, the commentarial tradition, Abhidhamma, there is this thing about the every moment is like a rebirth, or it's kind of in the different traditions, there is that. And moment to moment was like we're recreating a self. And so it's good to see that. That's one thing. But I think there's good to think as if there were rebirth as far as karma is concerned, because otherwise we might have the attitude that if we're really sneaky, we can get away with things, and it's not going to be any kind of karma. And that, we got away with that one, but there's still the karma of our feelings of fear of being caught. So, oh dear.
Okay.
Um, so,
Thank
um,
you.
yeah, so, yeah, and this sutta does talk about uh, this is a way of ending rebirth. And so that is actually the goal here. And we can touch on that when we get to the next sutta. Oh, actually, this is the different translation.
Translation.
Yeah. It's not the next sutta, but it's a different translation. We'll talk about that a little bit more.
Do we think we could get one of them to read, or
What?
could we have one of them read?
I could
you could do
probably
it.
read. Are you?
Okay,
You're.
yeah.
You're not. So I'm going to
On
share
edge.
another document here. Let's see if I can get rid of some of this so it's not confusing. That one's open.
Okay, unmuted there.
Okay. So we're back on track, we hope. So this is a Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, and I just wanted to read the way he's translated it, because different teachers will use different translations, and he calls it the dart rather than the arrow. So you'll hear about darts. So sala is an arrow or a dart. So this is ellipsed a little bit. Extracted. Bhikkhus, when an uninstructed worldling is being contracted by painful feeling, he sorrows, grieves, and laments. He weeps, beating his breast, and becomes distraught. He feels two feelings, a bodily one and a mental one. Suppose there was a man, no, suppose they would strike a man with a dart, and then they would strike him immediately afterwards with a second dart. So that man would feel a feeling caused by two darts. So too, when an uninstructed worldling is being contracted by a painful feeling, he feels two feelings, a bodily one and a mental one. Being contacted by that same painful feeling, he harbors aversion towards it when he harbors aversion towards painful feeling, the underlying tendency to aversion towards painful feeling lies behind this being contacted by painful feeling. He seeks delight in sensual pleasures. Sensual pleasure. For what reason? Because the uninstructed worldling does not know an escape from painful feeling other than sensual pleasure. When he seeks delight in sensual pleasure, the underlying tendency to lust for pleasant feeling lies behind this. He does not understand as it really is the origin, the passing away, the gratification, the danger, and the escape in the case of these feelings. When he does not understand these things, the underlying tendency to ignorance in regard to neither painful nor a pleasant feeling lies behind this. So the underlying tendency towards ignorance is underlying everything, actually.
Mhm.
And so it's supporting the that seeking renewed pleasure, that delighting in pleasure here and there. So he doesn't really understand the origin. And when you look at the Pali and actually Bhante Sujata's translation, what they're talking about, the origin of Vedana. So the origin of Vedana, if you take dependent origination, it starts out with ignorance. And then there's from ignorance, it's a sankhara. That's a Bhante Sujata translates as choices, but there's formations of mental formations and consciousness, vijnana, and then it's nama rupa, and then it's down to salayatana, which is a sense basis. So a person is born out of ignorance. Rebirth is coming out of ignorance. And this sankhara seeks a womb, and then there's the nama rupa, which is name and form, the physical and the mental. And the salayatana is forming too, the sense basis. And then from there is contact. So here is where the dividing line. In our day-to-day life, the origin of Vedana is contact. Moment to moment to moment contact. But it's from the contact at the six sense basis. So understanding all of this, you can understand it looking at it from contact, but you can also understand it from rebirth is the origin of Vedana. So then the origin passing away is that arising and passing. You see arising and passing of feeling, and feeling is like a bubble. And the similes of what the different khandas are, or the aggregates. Vedana is a bubble that just always, like the raindrops falling on a puddle of water, and there's all these bubbles appearing and disappearing. And this is what Vedana is like. Rising and passing, rising and passing. And we're always the gratification. If there was no gratification, people wouldn't seek after sense pleasures. But since there is gratification, they do. And then the danger is, or the disadvantage, or however Bhante Sujata translates it, drawback, I think. The danger is that it's impermanent and that we just keep seeking it again and again and again. This is actually renewed. This is keeps us in the cycle of rebirth. And the escape is to abandon that desire, the seeking, the craving. So we don't understand, or maybe we understand it intellectual, but we get in the same trap again and again and again. So, so when they do not understand these things, the underlying tendency to ignorance, this is what keeps us in the round of rebirth. In regard to neither painful nor pleasant feelings lies behind that. And you were about to say something.
Well, the font on your screen is really small, and the first two times you came to the word contact, you said contract.
Oh,
And
yes.
I thought it was incredibly spot on.
Oh, contact. I thought
Yeah.
I said contact.
The first two times I heard contract, contracted by, but it feels like it's a really actually reasonable translation, in that the contact so quickly becomes a contraction. Being contacted, and I was hearing being contracted, and it might be my ears, but that sense of on contact, when we've got this ignorance in there, there is this contraction. And it's this contraction. I mean, I've been sitting here watching it. I've got these cramps in my belly right now, and I've got this sense of like, oh, am I going to sick up or something? And there's this contraction around it, but it's not just the contraction of the body, it's the contraction of meing. I am the one who feels sickly. I am, and there's this gratification, this sense of, you know, it's something pleasant about me being the one who's sick. It's sick, but it's a mental sick of grabbing onto, I'm somebody because it's not just I who's sick, I'm sick too. It's crazy making. And I wanted to say that really quite literally, it's crazy making. And so as I watch the Vedana of it, because actually I'm trying to stir up the unpleasant sensation of cramping, like by grabbing onto it, cramping more. But the more
feeling attached.
I'm exactly. And so it's like I'm feeling attached to the cramping, and thereby enhancing the contraction. So I did a really brief thing on Sunday about how our practice supports when we're ill, that we can use awareness around this sensation that's in the throat or the belly, or and then also how the illness impacts our capacity to practice, the depletion. So it's rich. There's nothing left out when we're applying the Dhamma.
So
The escape.
if they feel a pleasant feeling, they feel it attached.
Yep.
If they feel a painful feeling, they feel it attached.
Yep.
If they feel a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, they feel it attached.
Yep.
This bhikkhus is called an uninstructed worldling who is attracting attention to themselves.
Exactly.
Okay.
Just for example.
Who is attached to birth, aging, and death? Who is attached to sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair? Who is attached to suffering, I say.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So, do we think that we're attached to all these things? We may be birth. Oh, yeah, I'll be reborn. So it's yeah, I want to be another Tiger Wood, or, something like that, some athlete or some another genius in the world or something, come back and be a uh, um, enlightened sage that will lead the world to the end of suffering or something, because there's all this so that's a seeking, something, a pleasant rebirth. But who is attached to aging and death? Really? Are we really? Yes, I guess. Attached
I mean, when
to
you
sorrow,
look at it, yeah.
sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, despair. And how many people are watching these soap operas and things like that? And just like heart-wrenching. And then he's cheating on her again. How can this happen? Something like that. The drama. We want to get into the drama, not the Dhamma.
Oh,
So, so this is, we ellipsed. Suppose they were to strike a person with a dart, but they would not strike them immediately afterwards with a second dart. So too, that person would feel a feeling caused by one dart only. So too, when the instructed noble disciple is contacted by painful feeling, they feel one feeling's a bodily one, not a mental one. Being contacted, maybe I did say contracted. That's how my mouth is trying to talk.
yeah, and the
Being
font's small. Yeah.
contacted, I know the word is contacted. But the same painful feeling, they harbor no aversion towards it, since they harbor no aversion towards painful feeling. The underlying tendency to aversion towards the painful feeling does not lie behind this being contacted by the painful feeling. They do not seek delight in sensual pleasure. For what reason? Because the instructed noble disciple knows of an escape from painful feeling other than sensual pleasure. Since they do not seek delight in the sensual pleasure, the underlying tendency to lust for pleasant feeling does not lie behind this. They understand as it really is the origin, the passing away, the gratification, the danger, and the escape in the case of these feelings. Since they understand these things, the underlying tendency to ignorance in regard to neither painful nor pleasant feeling does not underlie this. If they feel a pleasant feeling, they feel it detached. If they feel a painful feeling, they feel it detached. If they feel neither painful nor pleasant feeling, they feel it detached. This, because is called a noble disciple who is detached from birth, aging, death, who is detached from sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair, who is detached from suffering, I say. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So here I have the underlying three primary underlying tendencies. So this is another thing to note. Pleasant feeling has the underlying tendency to desire. That's raga nusaya. Unpleasant has the underlying tendency to repulsion, patiga nusaya. And neutral feeling is easier to say than neither pleasant nor unpleasant. Underlying tendency to ignorance is avidya nusayo. So this is it's good. What occurred to me is there's three primary colors, and you mix them together, and you get all the basic colors by mixing just certain amounts. And then you have 7 underlying tendencies. And you see here the underlying tendency to desire. This is raga nusaya, and then there's here patiga, this is first two, and then at the bottom there's ignorance. So you got the three are contained. And then there's views, which is ditthi nusayo, doubt, vichikichi, kicha nusayo, conceit, mana nusayo, the desire to be reborn, bhava, raga nusayo. So those ones in the middle are, I guess you could call them secondary, but all these keep us in the round of rebirth. And like the raga, here you have bhava raga. You see how raga is in here, and it's the desire to, this wonderful rebirth it's in some heavenly realm or something, or just the fear of losing. Bhava is also existence. So the ending of this present existence. So the desire to either both, I think, I understand this as both, to continue existing, either this body or future body. And clinging to this body also will propel us into rebirth. Conceit, as a conceit, maybe was arising,
Yeah, I was watching that.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so doubt is confusion. That's related to ignorance and views. That this could be related to patiga or raga. I think that's the thing, is they it can go, they're influenced by, I have to have my view, there's a desire that I'm right. And this also goes into mana. So how are we doing on time?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, so should we fast forward, and maybe we could after party for some, or we could go over a little bit too. So this I took from the honey cake, the Madhu Hindika Sutta honey ball or honey cake. And the Buddha was talking to his disciples after this encounter with Dandapani, and what he had was sort of explained of how it was about his encounter. So he says, mendicants, I think, judgment driven by proliferating perception. Oh, he's talking to one bhikkhu who asked a question. That's why it's mendicant. Judgments driven by proliferating perceptions beset a person. If they don't find anything worth approving, welcoming, or getting attached to in the source from which they arise, just this is the end of the underlying tendency to desire, repulsion, views, doubt, conceit, the desire to be reborn, and ignorance. This is the end of arguments, disputes, of accusations, divisive speech, and lies. So we see here, this is desire here, getting attached. So that sounds a little familiar from what we just looked at. And then all these underlying tendencies arise from that. So he says, if there's nothing to welcome or get attached to, this is where these bad, unskillful qualities cease without anything left over. And need to look at the source. So we're talking about samudaya, the origin or the source. And then then they go ask Mahakachana what the Buddha said. It was a little bit cryptic to them. And Mahakachana explains that eye consciousness arises dependent on the eye and sights. The meeting of these three is contact. Contact is the condition for feeling. So this is what I was talking about. In this present lifetime, we have this experience of Vedana arising again and again due to contact. So this is contact both mentally and physically. What you feel, you perceive. So perception, the sanya and the Vedana condition one another back and forth, but you don't see that. This seems linear, but they condition each other. What you perceive, you think about. What you think about, you proliferate. What you proliferate is the source from which judgments driven by proliferating perceptions beset a person. This occurs with respects to sights known by the eye in the past, future, and present. And then this for all the sense bases, including the mind. And so this, he goes through all the sense bases in the same way, and then he takes it a different perspective of it. When there is the ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, ideas, or mind, ideas, and mind, consciousness. So each one they're talking about ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness. It will be possible to discover the evidence of contact. So this takes a lot of skill just to notice the original contact. Where there is the evidence of feeling, when there is the evidence of contact, it will be possible to discover the evidence of feeling. Where there is the evidence of feeling, it will be possible to discover the evidence of perception. Where there is the evidence of perception, it will be possible to discover the evidence of thinking. Where there is the evidence of thinking, it will be possible to discover the evidence of being beset by judgments driven by proliferating perceptions. So this is even internally a judgment, oh, I shouldn't be sick, or when will I get better, and things like that. But this is showing in the world how we get entangled with ourselves and other people. But we can see what sometimes tracing backwards helps. If we see the mind is proliferating, there's the evidence of thinking, right? So then you trace back, well, the evidence of thinking, what perceptions am I having? And then where did the perceptions arise from? So it takes us back to feeling and contact. So we might even be able to recognize the contact either at the body door or any other sense, any of this, I want to say body, but any of the physical senses is more correct to say. Any of the physical senses, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, or the mind. Where was the original contact that gave rise to feeling? That may be hard to discern, but you can trace back at least to maybe the perception or the feeling. And it's good to do also as we go through the day to notice Vedana arising. As we notice, oh, this is a pleasant contact at the eye. This is unpleasant contact at the eye. So, or the nose, you smell something. I smell like I open up the refrigerator and there's a bad smell in the refrigerator. and I say, oh, this is, something's in here is gross. Why aren't we cleaning the refrigerator more frequently or something? So then all these judgments arise. And very quickly, all this happens. But if I just pause and say, oh, unpleasant odor at the nose door. And then maybe I find what's rotten in the refrigerator and clean it out. And it just, so I'm not struck by the second arrow by wanting to get into a fight with somebody because they're not doing their job or something. I think they should be doing, my judgment is they should be the one doing this job and they're negligent. So this is where the proliferation comes into being. Anyway, so this sutta is really every time you examine it, you see more and more in it. But the way Bhante Sujato has translated it, there's the evidence of these various, it's just kind of it's a causal chain, but it's not dependent origination. It's within our daily life experience. And if we can just stop it at feeling and just say unpleasant feeling, or notice my tendency to the perception of something is wrong here, and then trying to find somebody, the thinking is finding somebody to blame it on. So this is so this is the work we can be doing. And just like, even if we're just at the point of proliferating in our minds and we just said, hang on, wait a minute. Here I am blaming somebody else. Why do I need to do that? And then like, okay, it
Even if
started.
it is their fault.
Well, yeah. So, but I can just say this is an unpleasant
Right.
feeling at the nose door. Unpleasant feeling is also awaiting us. Feeling, tone, sensation. So an unpleasant sensation at the nose door. Okay. And do I need to get all up in arms about it? No, not. I mean, I could say, oh, I thought it was your turn to clean the refrigerator. Oh, I look at the chart, actually, it was mine. Something like that, whatever it is. But and this sanjanati is it's a verb form of sanya, and that's the word how it appears here. So if you go to and see the Pali, you'll see sanjanati. And it's interesting, knows as perceives, conceives, and recognizes. So this is this recognition. It's a kind of, well, we've learned to recognize things. So I've learned that an unpleasant odor means filth or decay, or I've learned that it means or maybe even negligence or something. I have some perception about it that I learned. So, and then it influences the Vedana, these back and forth, the Vedana and Sanya, because we've learned something is pleasant. The sight of something like a sight of a cake or something like that, it looks beautiful because of a memory of a taste, so we have this perception of this is something very yummy. So so this is how perception influences the Vedana. So I'm going to stop the screen share and see if there's any questions or comments. We're a little over, but we can go just a little over with something related to this concept of Vedana and Anusayas. underlying tendencies. I think I got into Kema's question somewhat too, where there's both, although within there is a more limited scope, the whole cycle of regeneration or rebirth. It's we don't, I mean, the body is always kind of renewing itself, but it's actually, mine is vastly deteriorating. Until you're in your 20s, you're growing, and then it's a gradual deterioration. So any comments or questions? Yes, came up, please.
Thank you. You mentioned, yeah, I'll just go for it. You mentioned causal chain is not dependent origination. This is the causal chain. And maybe that's what you were just speaking about, is it's not the whole thing. What we covered today, how is that different than dependent origination? Or is that an accurate question? Or maybe you didn't mean that. I'm
Yeah,
just curious.
it's not considered because it's within, it's, it will lead us to rebirth if we're not understanding it. This whole sequence of events with it's basically starting, it's actually
Okay.
starting with Salayatana, which is a sixth sense basis, and contact at the sixth sense basis. Oh, there's consciousness in there too. So, but it's not, it's not, it's not, um, rebirth is not included in this.
Thank you. I understand now.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
more, and I think, so it's just a section within, but it's also, this also has, perception is not in the dependent origination. It's not in the, it's a mental factor. It's included. It would be included in Sankara, I think, but it's not in the chain of dependent origination. It's not. You don't see that in the sequence of dependent as so it's once you get to feeling, it goes to perception and thinking and proliferating, and that's kind of like it's gone off on a separate um separate direction a little, that's not within the standard dependent origination, those factors. So this is to illustrate how people get entangled with one another, and how all of the underlying tendencies, all seven, arise. So it is, if you get the list of dependent origination and compare it to this, you'll see it's got a section of dependent origination, then it's veered off to explore just how we get entangled. So anyone else with a question? So we can close now if there's no further questions or comments. And yeah, this is definitely our work, is to understand all of this, to understand And there's, do you want to? We can just do a little standing bow. Neither of us are feeling well, so
Yeah.
we're modifying for
Yeah, on Sunday I bowed to the image of the Buddha in the screen, so I wasn't compressing my belly.
okay, so we could
We
do
could do
that.
that.
That's a good idea. So
Yeah.
we're well, or just
Or
turning.
we could- oh yeah, being up on chairs, we can just turn. It's
Okay.
great.
Okay. So we're gonna bow towards the Buddha image. The Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed one. I render homage to the Buddha, the blessed one. The teaching so completely explained by him, I bow to the Dhamma. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, I bow to the Sangha. So I'm going to close the live screen. Thank you all.